That was pretty cool. So is this. Well, maybe not this, but anime has the power to bring some of the most creative ideas to life with their storytelling and visuals. But if we took the word fiction and put this teeny little thing before it, would it still be as cool as we think it is? Starting with the shadow clone. Shadow clones are sometimes seen as useless, which is understandable since Naruto has the smallest bag ever, but it would be one of the most practical things in the series to use on a day-to-day basis. It lets you create a perfect copy of yourself, but when you use it, your chakra gets divided between each one. Now that enough would already be good, but that's just the beginning, because unlike normal clones, shadow clones are physically real, so they can copy your clothes, damage, and whatever you're carrying too. In real life, this means you won't have to do anything else in your life. You could just make a clone do it. Like if I had a shadow clone, I wouldn't even be editing this video right now. But here I am putting sound effects and transitions. Second of all, anything the clone learns or experiences comes back to you when it deactivates. You wouldn't be able to make as many as Naruto since he has 9 tail chakra, but depending on how many you make, you can learn things way faster than you could normally. For example, if you wanted to get better at basketball, you could make one clone to play offense and one clone to play defense against it. And once they get done, you're one step closer to making it to the NBA. So good job. As you can see, this literally has infinite potential since you literally don't have to do anything yourself anymore. You'd be free to do whatever you want in life since you're not obligated to do anything personally. The only bad side is if they take too much damage, they deactivate, but that might not even be a bad thing since when it disappears, you would know exactly what hit it and who it was. With all that being said, I don't know how you can give shadow clones anything less than S tier. Limitless is like a really cool package with a whole bunch of colorful gifts that you can't use because it got dropped on the way to your house. See, without Gojo's 6 eyes, Limitless is almost unusable, which is why I'm going to be including 6 eyes with it, or else it wouldn't be interesting. Infinity creates an invisible barrier around you that nothing can pass by creating an infinite space between you and said object. With this, you would literally never be able to be hurt by anything ever again, and no, you wouldn't get Toji'd in real life since there's no object that will be able to pass it. I should add that it's always active unless if you want to turn it off. So right off the bat, we already have physical invulnerability. Up next, we got Curse Technique Blue, which converges space to a point, creating fields of attraction. Now you don't have to use the big bongly ongly 200% version. You could also use it to bring objects to you. I should probably bring up that if you didn't have the 6 eyes, it would deplete all of your curse energy almost instantly, but 6 eyes would let you use almost no curse energy at all, which is why Gojo is the Michael Jordan of sorcerers, or Scottie Pippen for the manga readers. It also comes with short range instantaneous movement, by the way, just putting that out there. Reversal Technique Red happens by you multiplying negative energy by negative energy to make positive energy, then releasing it to create a repelling force instead of an attracting one. In real life, you could use this to do nothing. What are you using this for? And I'm not even gonna explain this because I don't care who you are, there's absolutely zero reason for you to be using this. Nobody watching this has ops tough enough. You have a reason to send an imaginary massive energy that destroys anything it touches. I'ma just move on. Now I don't know what y'all would use Unlimited Void for, but for me it would go something like this. I think it's safe to say if you stay away from using all the war crime abilities, adding on that you could fly and all the perks from the 6 eyes, it would be an easy S tier. Decay is Shigaraki's quirk from My Hero, and let's just say you would have to be a menace to society to even think about using it. It gives you the ability to destroy anything or anyone your hands touch, making it literally crumble to dust. So like Midas, but like 10 times more depressing. I should note that he also accidentally killed his family as a kid, you know, just putting that out there. I guess if you're a really generational hater, like say Reverse Flash or like Kendrick Lamar or something, you might find a way to use this, but I can't even think of one valid way to use it. Yes, I can. I would disintegrate my phone after seeing one more of those brain rot TikToks. Side note, if you're liking the video so far, you should go join the Discord. You know, silly little anime server. I also preview my new videos, so come get freaky. Freaky. Also, you should subscribe. The Gum Gum fruit gives your body the properties of both rubber and gum. Not gum, I just wanted to make the reference. Essentially making you a rubber human. So now you can stretch, bounce, and bend any way you want, as well as inflating and deflating at will. Like imagine you're playing basketball trying to defend a fast break. You try to go for the block and you get hit with this. Personally, I'd have to box. I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't. It would actually be useless because now you're also immune to any blunt force attacks like punches, bullets, and even fall damage. So not only would I get disrespected, he would also eat all my punches with no reaction. And considering crashing out wouldn't help, what would I even do? Well, that's where I gotta start bringing up the weaknesses. The first weakness is that you're now even more vulnerable to cutting and slicing attacks than a normal person. So if I were you, I would be real careful not to get episode 110. But all jokes aside, even a paper cut would go deeper than usual in real life terms. The second second is the one everybody knows. With every devil fruit, you lose the ability to swim because water weakens you to the point where you can't even move. But this isn't One Piece, so there's no air bubbles you can use in real life. Like even a 5-foot pool, if you go fully under, it's GG. The last one is that it takes years to learn how to control it, as we can see with Kid Luffy. To be honest, those aren't really that bad compared to a lot of other anime powers. But I should also bring up that every organ and bone inside your body also follows the rubber rule, which is why Luffy can eat basically unlimited food since his stomach literally stretches to fit all of it. I think this would definitely be the most fun power to have. Like I just imagine myself bouncing around walls and stuff and like swinging the roofs and stuff. Like it would be so cool. Plus you could like stretch your arm out and like reach stuff from really far away. You could cheat in every sport, and you could finally stop lying about being 6 foot by stretching your legs. B tier. On paper, return by death is one of the most OP things ever. I mean, you literally can't die and you can just respawn from the last checkpoint of your life. But even though you can respawn, it still wouldn't make life a game. Life isn't Subway Surfers. Just like Subaru, you would feel the shock of death every time, as well as every single ounce of pain. With that being said, the usefulness of this really depends on how you live, because unlike most of the other powers that you could use at any time, this one you can't. Some people in this world put their lives on the line way more than others. There's firefighters that constantly risk their lives running into burning buildings. There's soldiers who fight to death for their country. And then there's me. I sit in my room and make anime videos. Me personally, even if I knew I had it, I wouldn't be going out of my way to change anything that happened. And that brings me to another point. We have to understand that Subaru has ops. Like he's really meant to take that risk. You know, the weird girl who for some reason likes stomachs, the witch cult, a really big cat, really hungry rabbit. Like he's really like that. But most of us aren't. If we had something in our lives we wanted to change, you can't just tell someone to end it for you like Subaru can. The one who would have to be doing it is yourself. And to add on to this, you also can't tell anyone about return by death, because if you ever tried to, yeah, just don't try to. In conclusion, being basically immortal sounds cool, but is it really? Honestly, I don't know. So I'm gonna let you guys decide in the comments. Alright, next up we have the Colossal Titan. This gives you the ability to transform into a 60-meter being that constantly emits, I'm sorry, what are you doing with the Titan, bro? What? Someone please tell me, because I can't think of one scenario of you doing anything whatsoever. Realistically, this is what's happening. You're living life or whatever, right? You bite your hand, you turn into a Titan, boom, whatever. About 10 seconds in, you're instantly getting reported to the police. Ah, I just saw a giant monster. Is she bugging? I think she's bugging. And immediately you're getting blicked down by the US government and becoming a test subject for the rest of your life. If you honestly think there's any other way this situation's going, then I don't know what to tell you, bro. GG's. X tier. Okay, next up we got Paris. Rules from Tokyo. Alright. Gold Experience Requiem works. Gold Experience Requiem works exactly like you just saw. Anything that happens, you can just stop it from becoming real by reverting it to a state of 0. It's kind of complicated, but basically you could just control Z anything you don't like. And the show shows a demonstration of what happens, but in real life it would just happen. It also has enhanced strength from the first version of it. The normal version really is around the strength of a normal person, so about 3 times stronger than me. The main ability though is to give life. If Gold Experience puts life energy into something, you can choose what living organism you want it to be. An animal, a tree, anything. The strong independent women are gonna have a fun time with this. You could also use those non-living items and turn them into living parts to heal yourself. Next we have Life Shot, which might actually be useful since it doesn't just unalive you off the bat. If Gold Experience hits somebody with life energy, it can accelerate their thought process and make them feel the pain for much longer time without even killing them. And if that wasn't enough, it also has reanimation jutsu. Now I don't know who y'all would bring back, but me personally, I'm bringing back Prime Team USA. No, not that Team USA. I'm talking about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and my underground goat Harriet Tubman. One thing I learned from making these videos is that my viewers are supervillains. So instead of just ranking them in this video, I asked you guys from my Discord how you would use them. Starting with the Idol Transfiguration. Like most people, I thought this ability would be useless since in the anime all we see Mahito doing is being freaky. But then I saw this. To me, Idol Transfiguration is better than Limitless in terms of real life usefulness. Want people to shut off? Edit their soul so they don't have a mouth. Want people to be knocked out? Edit their soul to make their... Alright, this is what I'm talking about. But as much as I don't want to admit it, he's right. This ability relies on your soul and not your physical body. So the first advantage is that even though you're not immune to physical harm, you can heal any injury instantly. You'd also be able to morph your body in any way by changing the shape of your soul. And as we can see from the Freaky Toe clip, you can make it harden too, which means you'd never have to use tool like screwdrivers ever again. But that's just the beginning. If you want to fly, just edit your soul to give yourself wings. You can turn into any animal you want. You can shrink and grow however much you want. But the best part is that you could do it to others too. So now you're the greatest doctor ever. Not to mention you can literally cure cancer. Because let's not forget that Mahito removed Mechamaru's heavenly restriction, which he had since birth. So if you can do that, curing cancer will be so easy. The only weakness is that if you take direct damage to your soul, you get weakened. But I don't see anybody in real life pulling a black flash off anytime soon. Now this is gonna sound crazy, but hear me out. domain expansion. Now I know how crazy it looks, but trust me, anyone in this radius you can directly touch, right? Which means you can use idle transfiguration on them, which means if you go into a hospital in domain expansion, you can heal everyone at the exact same time. Yo bro, so theoretically, if you had idle transfiguration, how are you using it?
Oh yeah, murder my physics teacher.
So as you can see, this is literally just a case of the right ability given to the wrong person. S tier. Transformation jutsu lets you take the appearance of anything you choose. Most of the time it's used to turn into someone, but you can use it on animals, plants, or anything that's not living. So right off the bat, you can be anyone you want. You could be Mr. Beast, Donald Trump, but y'all know me though. But I'm not finished. You also get the voice and the attributes of that person. So if you ever get into a fight, just turn into Prime Mike Tyson. If you want super skinny jeans, just turn into any black person from Atlanta. I guess the only weakness is you have to know how the person acts so you can imitate them. But let's be real, if you get caught using transformation jutsu in a world where no one's expecting it,
oh my god, get him the f out of here.
There's one more big use for it though. So Tsunade really looks like this, but since she uses transformation jutsu constantly, she makes herself look like this, which means you can use it to change aspects of your own body as long as you have chakra. So you're quite literally now a GTA barbershop. You can switch hairstyles whenever you want, choose whether you're fat or skinny, keep perfectly smooth skin at all times. That is until your chakra runs out. Then you're back to, I don't know, this. Wait, so how would you use transformation jutsu though?
If it was in like a fighting situation, I would choose Ippo, something like that.
Obviously, just like idle transfiguration, there's almost an infinite amount of ways you can use this, and since it's so versatile, I'd also say this is S tier. Killua's nin abilities have a lot of uses. First, we have his Hatsu, which lets him transfer his aura into electricity. With this alone, you could already charge or power anything like your phone way faster than normal. And if you charge yourself with an outlet, you can let out a stronger and bigger quantity of it. After transferring your aura, you can use abilities like Thunderbolt, which... Y'all gotta tell me what y'all would use this for, because I do not see any use for this. With Godspeed mode, your hair turns super spiky, and you can use electric shock that allows him to shock and immobilize anyone on contact, instant reaction time, which is kind of self-explanatory, and super speed, which lets you run up to 150 miles per hour. Imagine all the stuff you could do after you're laying on the ground after you just charge your body with 1,000,000 volts. That's right, you're doing absolutely nothing with Killua's electricity. In case you forgot, the only reason he's able to use this power is because he was tortured with lightning by his brothers constantly while he was a kid, to the point where he doesn't even react to the pain anymore. So I do not care who you are, nobody watching this was beat with electricity as a kid, and I would put 10 bands on it. So the millisecond you try to use Hatsu, it's GG. X tier. The Death Note is a notebook that kills anyone whose name you write in it. You can also write how they die, but if you don't, they die from a heart attack by default in 40 seconds. Yo, so who are you using the Death Note on?
Dang, bro, I got so many. I gotta list them all. My math teacher, Jack Harlow, Jack Doherty, yeah.
There's different forms of heavenly restrictions in Jujutsu Kaisen, but I'm going to be talking about the one that was given to the deadbeat king himself, Toji. His heavenly restriction made him born physically gifted, but at the cost of having 0 cursed energy. So what do I mean by physically gifted? Well, first of all your 5 senses are greatly enhanced by a lot. His perception is so good that he can follow people by their footprints and smells, and he can dodge things without even looking. He could even see curses without even having cursed energy, just because his senses are that good. Next, obviously, we have his inhuman speed. So fast that literal jujutsu sorcerers say it's near impossible to see him, and that he's even faster than Sukuna with 3 fingers. Now, I'm no power scaler, but in the absolute lowest Toji speed feat, we see he's running on water. So I searched it up, and the human legs would have to press down against the water at more than 67 miles per hour, which is 15 times the force our legs are capable of producing. This is already 3 times faster than any human has ever reached, and I said that was a low ball. Most of the power scalers scale him around Mach 3, which is around 2,300 miles per hour, which, if you didn't know, is faster than a bullet. And let's not forget that he flawless victory Dagon. He beat a cursed sea monster in his own domain expansion without getting hit once. Like, at this point, the only thing that's stopping you is the government. The fastest US fighter jet reached a speed of Mach 6.72, which is really the only thing that's going to be catching you. So as long as you don't get suspicion from the US government, you can literally do whatever you want. So S tier. Cursed speech lets you reinforce your words with cursed energy. With this, anything you say to someone, they'll treat it as a demand. Like this, for example.
Your Jordans are fake.
Even though it's kind of like a reusable Geass, it has even worse drawbacks. The first is that over overusing it will take a toll on your body. So the stronger words you say, the more side effects it'll have. So if you say something like hand me that real quick, really nothing's gonna happen to you. But it's when you start saying stuff like
you should kill yourself now
that things start getting a little complicated. But on the bright side, it works through phones, like when he told the useless girl to go to sleep. Some of the side effects are sore throat, coughing blood, and at the most extreme, even losing the ability to talk. Which brings me to the next weakness. You can't even talk like a regular person. Like he has to talk in rice ball ingredients just so there's not an RNG roll on how they get disintegrated, which I think is the worst part. You either have to be a weirdo for the rest of your life or learn sign language. And I'm not learning sign language. All right, what about curse speech from Decay?
Okay, so let's say you like this girl, right? And imagine you just like, you see her walking, and imagine you just yell out, strip. And everything comes off.
C tier. Obito's Kamui has different uses for both eyes. For the right one, it's a short range version that allows you to suck yourself into the Kamui dimension. Now looking at this, you're probably thinking, man, this looks like a very fun and interactive place to be in. And it is, especially since you can bring whatever you want in there. If you wanted to, you could treat this like an infinite storage room, but that's only one way you could use it. The main thing that gave Obito so much aura when he got revealed is that he can just phase through anything. You can do this by subconsciously putting part of your body in the Kamui world so it looks like you're there, but in reality it's just kind of a hologram. Because of this, you would be literally invulnerable to anything as long as you can see it coming. Which, let's be real, this is a Sharingan jutsu, which means you also have all the Sharingan perks too. But I'm not gonna explain all that in this video because I already did in this video right here. That means technically you can use the right eye Kamui to walk through walls. If I had this, I'm doing the craziest pull-ups. You can break into any place and just leave whenever you want to. So long story short, you're now invincible and you have a whole dimension to yourself. Now the left eye, which is the one Kakashi has, is the long range version. With this, you can look at something and make a barrier around it that sucks things into the Kamui dimension. Hopefully you wouldn't be using it like Kakashi versus Deidara. Now when you put both eyes together, it gets even better because with both eyes you can make large portals that even other people can go through. So now instead of being lonely in the Kamui dimension, you can be lonely together with someone else in the Kamui dimension. And don't forget, since you have both eyes now, you can use the Power Rangers Megazord. Now for the downside, since they're only the Mangekyou Sharingan, every time you overuse Kamui, you get closer and closer to becoming blind. And since the long range Kamui depends on sight, you won't be able to use the long range version when you go blind. So you have to limit yourself or you go blind in like a week. And because of that, it can't get that S tier, so A tier. Toru's invisible quirk has so many uses. When you see invisibility used in other TV shows and media, it's mostly used for stuff like pranks or if you know, you know. And I think it's like that because realistically, what else are you gonna use it for? I mean, okay, you're invisible. You can sneak in places without people knowing, but then what? You're basically a ghost at this point. Really, the only people that are gonna know is your friends if you have any. Like, how are you gonna get a house or a job? Because I know they're not selling a house to someone they can't see. So after a while, unless if you own your own house already, you're gonna be homeless and unemployed, which means now you have to steal everything from now on, which wouldn't really be as easy as you think, since people can still see the thing that you're trying to steal floating around. So now you went from a normal human to a broke ghost that lives on the street and makes a living off stealing. Not to mention, if you ever get accidentally injured, who's gonna cure you? Because a doctor is not curing you. Realistically, the only way this is working for you is if you have a person who knows you're invisible and is willing to support you your whole life. Other than that, you're gonna have a really sad life. So B tier. These are boring. Watching Code Geass got me thinking about how cool some anime eyes really are. For example, these can see a person's lifespan, these can destroy a whole village, and these anyways, I'm gonna be ranking different anime eyes by how useful they would be in real life, starting with the Geass. Lelouch's version of the Geass gives him what's called power of absolute obedience, which makes people obey every last word with no resistance, no matter how big, small, or absolutely random. It also erases their memory before, during, and after being controlled, and has no time limit. Even if you don't have a lot of brain power, you can go from one of the most poor people to one of the most rich and powerful people in the world in only a few days. You could do literally anything you want, get anything you want, but there's drawbacks to this. One, you can only use it once every person. Two, the more you use it, the more uncontrollable it gets. What I mean by that is after a while, it's going to be activated no matter when you want to use it. The third, which is kind of my own opinion, is that no matter how good or bad of a person you are, just like Lelouch, the more you use the Geass, the more it'll have a negative effect on your view on humans and the meaning of respect. But as OP as the eye is, if we keep it away from a certain streamer,
you should kill yourself.
we're okay. A tier. Gojo's 6 eyes are one of the reasons he's the Michael Jordan of sorcerers. But you better be a cosplayer, because that's the only way you're gonna get anything out of this. I'm kidding. I see a lot of people getting this mixed up, but Limitless and 6 eyes are two different things. It's stated in some canon sources that anyone in the Gojo clan can inherit Limitless, but you just need the 6 eyes to master it, so you're not going to be flying or giving people tutorials mid-fight anytime soon. Anyway, 6 eyes gives this over-talented light skin, immense perception, and unrivaled visual prowess. If those words were too big for you too, look at this picture. of him scanning a forest from kilometers away. Keep in mind, he can teleport every blade of grass to every animal with ease. Now, if we put that into perspective, he can see better than an eagle, which can see 4 or 5 times farther than the average person. He could even spot a funny sniper wolf clip. The bad sides to this eye are: 1, your eyes work like a high resolution infrared camera even when you have a blindfold on, which would be kinda annoying, let's be real. 2, it literally gives you the fatigue effect even when you have a blindfold on. The blindfold just reduces it. And 3, you won't even be able to use the main use, which is seeing the flow of cursed energy to the atomic level. Or maybe you could. Enhanced sight and glittering eyes would be really cool for humans, but compared to the other eyes on this list, D tier. Erasure is an ability used by Aizawa that allows him to erase the quirk of whoever he's looking at until he blinks. Erasure is not an ability that would be used by any human though. Ever. I don't know about y'all, but I don't see dudes with fire beards and frog girls walking around on a daily basis. But maybe I should. F tier. Take Akashi's Emperor Eye from Kuroko no Basket, multiply it by 100, and you have Foresight. This gives Sir Nighteye the ability to see another person's future from a third person point of view for a whole hour. And by 1 hour, I don't mean only their movements for that 1 hour. You can see years into their future in that hour if you wanted to, 100% perfectly. If you heard that and you still don't understand how OP this is, here's a small list of things you would never lose at again. Any board game, fight, form of bet, argument, shootout, any form of 1v1. Not to mention, you're now a lie detector, fortune teller, and me personally, the greatest hater since the reverse flash. I'd say the most realistic way a lot of people would use it is having a friend who buys lottery tickets, look into their future, see what the numbers are, and now you're Mr. Beast. But it does have limitations. You can only use it once a day, which all that means to me is I can only gatekeep one person from finding the level of their life every day. So S tier. The Sharingan, translated to Copy Wheel Eye, is easily the most complex one so far, and also an easy S tier. Well, the first version. Eye of Insight is only the first ability, and it already gives you insane perception, increased reaction time, also the ability to mimic movements, anticipate people's actions based on slight muscle movements, enter people's minds, and see fast moving objects like bullets. Now that was only the first part, and all I heard was I'm never losing a 1v1 again. The easiest way I can visually explain it is by using this clip from Ultimate Ninja 5. When you have it activated, everything around you seems to move really slow and you can move at normal speed, which means if shadow boxing ever comes back, I'm going crazy. Not to mention, you could very easily become the greatest sports player of all time. Imagine an NFL quarterback who has 360 awareness and knows which receiver is going to be open before they even are, like the NCAA 14 slow-mo but 50 times better. Or a soccer player who can see... Wait, that's just blue light. Eye of Hypnotism is the second ability, which comes with its own Sharingan jutsu. This lets you project thoughts or illusions into people's mind without them even knowing, but it also leaves them slumped like that one dude who lost to Jake Paul. No, I'm not gonna say his name. I wouldn't be spamming this to be honest, but it would definitely be useful in some situations. Now remember when I said the first version is an S? Well, actually there's 3, but this one you can't use, and this one, you don't want to make it to this one. To even unlock the one Tomo Sharingan, you have to go through an event that puts you in immense emotional stress. For example, Sasuke got his by coming home and finding out Itachi took playing Fortnite with his family a little too seriously. You can go to 3 Tomos either by extensive training or instantly getting a Tomo by another Steins Gate worthy event. But the problem is after that. The Mangekyou Sharingan, or Ticking Time Bomb Copy Wheel Life for short, is only unlocked if 1, you have all 3 Tomos, and 2, you experience the death of the person who you love. For Sasuke it was Itachi, for Itachi it was Shisui, you get the point. But let's talk about how much better it is than the first version. First of all, you get access to a literal Megazord. Now I don't know who y'all are beefing with, but the ops must have did something devious for you to pull out a 200-meter giant that can tank Biju bombs. For those who don't understand how powerful a Biju bomb is, if nukes are level 10, Biju bombs are level 500. They can literally vaporize entire mountains and be felt across the whole continent. Second of all, it takes all the perks from the first version and amplifies them. So instead of dodging bullets, you can now perceive and dodge literal lightning. If you haven't noticed this already, you are now a danger to society. Not to mention, you also get new jutsus in each eye. For example, Itachi Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu, or Sasuke who has Amaterasu in his left eye and Kagutsuchi in his right to control it. I forgot to mention this, but if that wasn't enough, you also now have 2 revives. Izanagi is a Sharingan jutsu that lets you, quote, seize control of the space between reality and illusion in exchange for only 1 eye. For example, if you somehow manage to die at this point, you could just use one of your eyes to rewrite that you were actually just sitting home and watching a kazii video. So why do I call it the Ticking Time Bomb Eye? Well, each time you use it, you get closer and closer to being blind, and the more powerful the jutsu, the faster you go blind. In Sasuke's case, it only took him 1 day to almost go blind during the 5 Kage summit, but there is a way to preserve it forever. You're just not doing it. You have to take the eyes of someone really close to you who also have reached Mangekyou Sharingan level, but since no one else would have it, you're just a really OP person waiting to go blind. In conclusion, up to 3 Tomo Sharingan is S tier. Mangekyou, because of the massive trauma and the fact that it gives you a disability, honestly only B tier. In the world of Death Note, the Shinigami eyes are one of the most useful things you can have, but in real life they would be depression speedrunners. The ability to see people's names and lifespans is even worse than a Zaiwa's, which would give us literally nothing. First off, to even accept the eyes, it already cuts your lifespan in half, and since you have to accept the eyes from a Shinigami, that means the rules of the Death Note still apply to you even though you can't use it. So now, on top of seeing when everybody dies, you now have to deal with a monster following you for your whole life that no one else can see or hear. It also doesn't sleep. I think it goes without saying, seeing people's lifespans would mess with your brain at minimum. One big thing that makes us humans is that we don't know when we're gonna die. Not to mention how much damage it would do to your view on society, family, friends, and relationships. But maybe the scariest thing so far is that you can't even see your own lifespan. You just know it's been cut in half. Like the like button, hopefully. Corey, it's been a year. I don't know what else to say, bruh. If you would pick this, you're not like us normal people. Well, I shouldn't say that. I forgot to tell y'all that it repairs and enhances vision if you're blind. F tier obviously isn't enough for this, so I'm just gonna make a new tier. X tier. The question now is, which eyes would you pick? Me personally, I go with the Sharingan because these may or may not be real pictures of my room, but let me know in the comments. I only covered a small amount of anime eyes in this video, but if it gets 150 likes, part 2. Y'all might have hit 150 likes. There were so many requests for the Rinnegan and the Byakugan last video, so I'm gonna just start with those. Just to clear this up, it's implied that if you have the eye, you have the energy needed to use it. For example, chakra or cursed energy. The Rinnegan is one of the 3 great dojutsu, which consists of the Byakugan, the Rinnegan, and the Sharingan. The first thing you get is access to the 6 paths technique. So now you can attract and repel forces with the Diva path, extract souls with the human path, turn your body into a robot with the Asura path, absorb chakra with the Preta path, summon really big animals with the Animal path, and use this really freaky monster that needs to get that yam off his face. Now you could use all these abilities in your own body, or you could use the 7 technique called the Outer Path to bring 6 dead bodies back to life and use 1 ability through each of them. But I'm not finished. You can also see what each of the paths see simultaneously, so you could unironically be 7 places at one time. You can also bring anyone you want back to life as long as they still have a body, but you might like die or something. Depending on who gets it, the world could get 1,000 times better or 1,000 times worse very quickly. Gunshots are doing nothing to Almighty Push. The police are doing nothing to Almighty Push. We all got that one friend that's always lying. Just put your hand on their head and you can read their mind. You could also just yank out their soul, but want a pet? Summon whatever this is with the Animal path. You wouldn't really be able to absorb anything, but there's still such a wide range of things you can do, like flying, instant regeneration, and it also evolves into the Rinnegan Sharingan. Well, not really. You need to find the 10 tail somewhere, but if you did, you may or may not be able to fly up to the moon and trap the world in a dream state where everyone is a slave to you forever. Even though you can't get the Rinnegan Sharingan, the Rinnegan alone is already an easy S+ tier. But they would be very creepy. The Byakugan, which I didn't want to bring up because of comments like this, lets you see almost 360 vision with only 1 blind spot at the back of your neck. On top of seeing all your surroundings, your vision goes through any object, so you can see through walls, floors, literally anything that restricts vision. So off rip, this is one of the most useful things so far. Just imagine how easy it would be for these 2 YouTubers to spot the nearest kids. If you focus your vision, you can expand your reach depending on how much you train. For example, in part 1, Neji could see up to 50 meters, and in Shippuden, he could expand it to around 800 meters. If all that wasn't good enough, you can also examine people's bodies just by looking at them. In Naruto, it lets you see the flow of chakra circulating through the chakra pathway system, which in real life would equate to seeing the flow and body functions of people. For a doctor, this would make things so much easier because you'd be able to diagnose people with little to no effort. Except this guy, he wasn't thinking about the doctor part at all. The only bad thing about this eye is when you use it, veins pop out of your face, which looks really cool in anime, but in real life it would just be kind of weird. A tier. The Scarlet eyes from Hunter x Hunter make your eyes glow red when you get mad. That's about it. Is what I would say if they weren't worth almost $18 million. The eyes of the Kurta clan are treated like rare jewels, which is why people value it so high. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think 18 million is enough to walk around like Nick Fury for the rest of my life. So C tier. Speaking of glowing eyes, remember this? But compared to the other eyes on this list, D tier. Yeah, so I was kinda wrong. A lot of y'all in the comments told me that Gojo's eyes speeds up his ability to process information, basically making his brain a supercomputer. In real life, this would equate to learning anything you want tens to hundreds of times faster than a normal person. And this applies to anything like sports, muscle memory, and academics. For example, if you tried hard enough, you could go from a complete beginner to being completely fluent in a language in 1 to 2 months. I also said you wouldn't be able to see the flow of cursed energy, but it stated that cursed energy comes from negative emotions such as grief and anger, and that there's a lot more in areas associated with stress. So even if there's a cursed spirits in real life, you'd still be able to see cursed energy coming from people who are having negative emotions, and see lots in places like graveyards, diddy parties. See, this is what I'm talking about. I also forgot one of the most obvious things, which is how shiny and perfectly blue blue they are. If I had these, I'm looking at everyone like that one light-skinned TikTok guy. In addition to the enhanced sight and perception, there's too much not to give these A tier. There's multiple demon eyes in Mushoku Tensei, but I'm gonna be talking about the one that was given to Drake. I mean, Rudius. Drake's eye gives him the power to see movements about 5 seconds into the future, but after he trained his mana, he was able to see about 10 seconds into the future reliably. Most of us in real life don't fight on a day-to-day basis, but it would still be really useful, for example, games like rock, paper, scissors, shadowboxing, and maybe Fortnite, so I can see myself getting 200 pumped knowing there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Even though they're basically just Sir Night-Eye's eye, but like 1,000 times worse, it's still good enough to be B tier. Speaking of seeing into the future, Akashi's Emperor Eye from Quirk on the basket is very similar, but not in the way that most people think. It's kind of like the Byakugan in the sense that it lets you examine people's bodies with extreme detail, like their muscle movements and breathing, essentially letting you see their weaknesses. It's also like the Sharingan because it lets you predict movements before they happen. So it's not exactly seeing the future, but it's pretty close. The best part about it is that it has no downside, and that when you get in a flow state or basically really focused doing something, your predictions get even better and you can predict even farther than before. Now I might be the only one that noticed this, but why is he using these on basketball? That's like the least effective way he could be using it. Being a boxer with this eye would make way more sense because you can see their muscle movements and their weak points. Or even something like a tennis or soccer player. Wait, that's also blue, like I said that last video. Regardless, no matter which one you pick, you'd easily become one of, if not the greatest at any of them. So for that, I have to give it A tier. The Plunder Eye from Charlotte lets you take over the body of anybody in your line of sight for 5 seconds. In the show, it also lets him take the abilities of whoever he controls, but just like Aizawa, you wouldn't really be able to use it. Except this guy. Take his ability to make the weirdest videos I've ever seen. There are bad sides though. First of all, when you take control of someone, your body just falls over, so it's really obvious whenever you use it. Second of all, you feel the same pain the person you're controlling feels, so don't let them get hurt. Honestly, I feel like those aren't really bad because the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. Surprisingly, a lot of the ways he uses it in the show are pretty accurate, like seeing what people look at, making someone give you something, and it's even better that it doesn't have a cooldown or take energy and you could just spam it. In the show, he lost more of his memories for every ability he took, but since you won't be able to take them, that doesn't really apply to you, so B tier. The Millennium Eye from Yu-Gi-Oh would be one of the greatest things ever, but it would kind of hurt. It lets you see and read people's minds, which I think it goes without saying how good this would be. Also, since it lets you see people's cards, if you have actual Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you would be the greatest player ever. But me personally, I'd use it to rob rich people in poker. The bad part is that you have to rip your own eye out to actually even put it in. Easiest A tier in my life. Alright, this is the part of the video where we take all the other eyes we've talked about so far and throw them out the window. The magic eye of chaotic destruction makes everything we just talked about irrelevant. I would start listing out strengths and weaknesses, but that wouldn't really matter since your strengths are your weaknesses. If that didn't make sense, good. This is the same anime where the guy named himself as a baby. I'm not gonna sit here and explain every ability he has because then I'd have to name the video. This is what happens when you just start writing anything. Instead, I'm gonna just name a few, starting with law manipulation. Newton's law of universal gravitation says that every particle attracts every blah 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 blah. See, that was a test. None of that matters. If you think gravity is mid, womp womp. Too bad, guess we're floating now. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? It's actually 10 because now 2 equals 5. Ooh, another good one which is kind of on the weaker side, we have reality warping. So anything that happened in the past, you can just change it and the whole world would have just went on as if nothing happened. Like this dude literally died, came back and said, did you really think that killing me would be enough to make me die? He also has information manipulation, meaning he can control, alter, and even destroy information from the universe, or changing what a specific person knows, basically mind manipulation. At this point, you can literally change anything, bro. For example, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, right? See, this is where my hating tendency started to come in. The Chiefs never existed. Frieren isn't number 1 on my enemy list. Taylor Swift stopped being mid. Dr. Disrespect never used Twitch chat, and Corey Kenshin finally has a consistent YouTube schedule. I was gonna start listing off some more stuff like invulnerability, probability manipulation so you always win, teleportation, telepathy, but then I was like, why am I listing things you can't do when you can make yourself able to do stuff that you can't do? If you have this eye, you're basically the world. If you wanted the sky to be red, then it's GG's, the sky's red. The ability to destroy logic is enough to make you able to do literally anything in the real world. If you haven't noticed already, S++, bro, no matter how many pluses I put on it, S tier wouldn't be enough for this, bro. Like, how can you rate something that can literally change what the meaning of a rating is? If you guys liked the video, like, subscribe, and join the Discord.
トラック44